Hi there, Dr. Alan Christensen here. I want to talk about a very powerful practice, just basic meditation. People often ask me about whether this is something that I've done or studied or find useful. You know, the evidence on meditation improving health and psychology is overwhelming. You know, I've looked at many studies. I've never seen a single study that suggested that there was not very clear, tangible benefit. And we see medical improvements, digestive function, cardiovascular health, blood pressure, immune function. We see a big variety of psychological benefits, you know, reductions in anxiety, in obsessive symptoms, in depressive symptoms, you know, heightened mental clarity. And we see a lot of functional improvements, things you might not guess: athletic performance, motor skills, fine motor abilities, also creativity, also scores of happiness and engagement. These things all get so much better with meditation. Now, a barrier, and I almost wish that we had a new word because many have a lot of baggage wrapped up around the word. Many think about, you know, wearing a robe or maybe engaging in religious practices that are not a fit for you. But at this point, the data is so strong that you don't need to join a group or change your beliefs in any way. It just takes some simple habits. And it turns out that our mind, our whole nervous system, has this deep natural relaxation response, as one person called it. It's hardwired and built into us. So there's techniques that help us activate that and get to it more readily. The other perk about meditation is psychological growth. So what do I mean by that? Well, there's stages that we go through throughout childhood especially. So for example, at one stage, children cannot identify something that they're not looking at. So you could have a sheet of paper that's green on one side and blue on the other. And you can show them the paper. Here's both sides. You see it. You see both sides. And you could say, okay, what color do you see? What color are you looking at? And they could say, oh, I see the green side. And you could ask them, okay, what color do I see? I'm on the opposite side of them. At some ages, the children could not think outside of their perspective. They would think, oh, you're seeing green also. And you could flip it and say, remember, this is blue. Yeah, but I'm seeing green, so you must see green. But then, somewhere around 3 to 5 years of age, kids can say, oh, I'm seeing the green side, but you must be seeing the blue side. So that's one of the stages of psychological growth. And there's all these benchmarks that happen up to about our young adulthood. And there's other changes that tend to occur after the typical years of retirement. But between those two, you're kind of stuck. So in most cases, your level of psychological maturity does not progress during the working years, with the exception of those who are regularly meditating. They end up decades and decades ahead of measurable levels of just psychological maturity. And maturity might sound kind of like stodgy, but the trick is it actually means fun. So those levels of clarity allow you to be in a greater state of engagement and have deeper levels of enjoyment and have greater amounts of resiliency. So you've got just greater perspective upon the big picture and the longer term future. And you get less hung up by little speed bumps that always surface. You can see past those easier. So all very big tangible benefits. So if that's the case, what level of complexity is needed for meditation? Well, not much. Lots of research has shown that some of the simplest things, the simplest types of repetition, can be very effective. And they've also looked a lot at timing, duration, frequency, time of day, situation. And I'll tell you guys all about those things. So many have looked at 10-minute sessions twice daily being very effective. Between 10 to 20, you may see more improvement in the longer time frames. Above 20, between 20 to 60, the level of greater improvement is rather small. So you can see clear shifts, though, in even 10-minute sessions. So not much time commitment at all. Time of day, you know, the time you can practice is the most effective time. It's better than time which you will not practice. But if you've got some options, morning is helpful. You know, in many cases, when you have a ritual or a practice that you knock out in the morning, it leaves you with a certain amount of confidence and a certain amount of accomplishment that can carry through and benefit the rest of your day. Also, for many people, they've got a better chance of really guarding and controlling their morning in a way to make a meditative practice be more plausible. So mornings are great, but again, don't let that be a barrier. Anytime can work. So where to do it? Also no wrong setting. Some people have done this even during commutes and public transportation. It's possible. Ideally, you've got a quiet space in which you will not be interrupted. If you have the access to do that somewhere in a natural setting, probably even that much greater benefit. But just some quiet space where people know not to come and interrupt you, and you don't have your phone right there. You've got these distractions away. It's helpful to have some way to have passage of time calibrated. So have a timer, have some simple thing that will gently chime after your allotted time has passed. And make sure it works properly. I've been in meditations before to where I'm thinking, okay, it should have been 20 minutes. How long has it been? Is the timer going to go off? I should be done sometime soon. And you can really get stuck into a spiral. And I've actually done it where I've not set the timer right. It's been like half an hour, like, oh, I thought it was too long. So have a timer you're familiar with, you know how it works. And ideally not one that's very loud and abrasive, like a gentle chime is nice. So some way when you know you're done, you don't have to wonder and guess about it. So that's the situation. Now the logistics of how you want to be positioned, honestly, any way your back is straight. Sitting in a chair is great. If you are flexible in certain ways, you can do lotus postures or cross-legged, but really just have your back straight and aligned. You wouldn't want to be lying, so you're going to totally fall asleep or zone out. So just back straight and comfortable and supported. That's about it for the posturing. So what goes on inside your head? Well, there's two parts of that. There's what you intend and what is inevitable. And we'll talk about both. So what you intend, I'm going to encourage a variation of what's called mantra meditation. And this has had maybe one of the largest amounts of research, or quite a bit nonetheless, and it has the least amount of complexity. So you want to choose things to repeat. What I love to do is just do a count. There's no overtones, there's no loaded concepts, there's no things for your mind to kind of pattern off of. Just do counts as you're breathing. Typically I'll go, and this will be said in my head, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So you want to pace about like that. As you sit for a few moments, your breathing often gets slower. And at that case, you can move to a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or even a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So just simple numbers. No concepts, no overtones, easy to maintain. And you want about that pace I was using, like da 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 da. So the idea there is you're using a pace such to where you will keep your mind more engaged. Your conscious mind stays more occupied and more focused. This seems to shift us towards this state of repair and rejuvenation and resiliency. So you're really just sitting and breathing and counting on the inhale and starting your count again on the exhale. So you inhale 1, 2, exhale 1, 2. Inhale 1, 2, exhale 1, 2. And again, this is going on in your mental dialogue, not in your external dialogue. So that's the whole thing for the intentional mental technique. Now, the unintentional mental technique, here's the thing. A lot of people say, hey, I cannot meditate. I get restless, my mind gets distracted, I start thinking about things. Really? Guess what? That's totally normal. That's what everyone goes through. That's to be expected. Do not be alarmed. Do not think you're broken. Do not think that you're lacking the yogi gene, because none of those things are true. That's totally normal. That's what our brains and our bodies do. And it's just like any other exercise or training that, a few weeks, it'll get smoother and it'll get easier. And don't beat yourself up. If you're planning on a 5-minute session and at 4 minutes, you're just going nuts, throw in the towel and call it good. But come back to it again tomorrow and you'll make it 5 minutes just fine. So it does take practice and it does take just some time, but it's not difficult. So go into it with the expectation that your mind will race, your mind will wander, You will start building to-do lists and, oh, could have said this, should have said that. Totally normal. That's exactly what happens. We're training our mind to function in a more strategic, intentional way. And it does respond. And it's always something that does take a bit of time. So don't expect that you will be perfectly focused on track, maybe even ever. And do not think that you have to be. Do not think that you have to reach some blissed out, perfected mental state before you see those benefits, because that's not true. That they've shown that you can bumble through it, as we all do when we start it and get the hang of it, and you still see big tangible changes to your health. They've even shown that just a few days with no prior training, people see clear improvements in stress response measurements and blood pressure. So no matter how bad it goes, it's still very helpful for you. So don't get alarmed or worked up about that. What will happen over time is that you will become more and more aware of these thoughts and habits, but not attached to them. At some point, they will be to you what clouds are passing through the sky. They are events that you do not choose, but you do not dislike. They are not bad. They are just there passing along. And your thoughts will become the same thing. They will not stop, and you will not need them to. But that same equanimity or poise will spill through to your day-to-day life. And you can be on task and doing what's important to you, and random thoughts will come up and you won't have to follow them. They will not grab your attention or distract you any longer. So that's one of the clear benefits. So give this practice a shot. I'm going to challenge you to do a week, do 10 minutes in the morning. And if you're not journaling already, it's an awesome habit just to touch bases with what's going on inside of you and just watch what's coming up as you're journaling, or if not, start it. And just open a dialogue with your inner feelings and your needs and your wants and where you are overall and your contentment. It shifts after even just a few days of meditation. And you can look back at your notes and see your level of clarity and your level of real engagement with what's important to you. So give it a shot for a week, 10 minutes, counting as you're breathing. It's that crazy easy, and it's super helpful. Thanks for hanging out, and I look forward to seeing you really soon.